Alright, I have worked through the expansion of this garage according to what we talked about, and I think I can make this film pretty quick and pretty straightforward. First of all, I love that the new plan is very simple in terms of all that was going to happen here. Generally speaking, the new plan is actually easier than that, I think. This was what we were working with at our last 1910 by 29.9, and this orange line is your property line, so we're not going that way or that way at all. And I wonder if they're going to give us a headache, because by coming this way we're actually building outside the property line, but maybe that is grandfathered in as existing. So there is where we were at our last in March, and first of all I added roughly 2 feet to the back. I eventually refined this out to make this an even 22 feet. So we're talking about adding 2 feet 1.5, pushing everything that way 2 feet 1.5, and then shifting the cars to adjust for that. And that gives you this kind of clearance coming out this door with this 16-foot door arranged like this with a 4-foot panel and a 2-foot panel here, 7 inches on either side as you come in with 2 foot between the cars. Now that alone would probably be enough because we were more with width than length, although it was tight everywhere. Now if we wanted to span this whole thing without having any kind of beam this way at all, if we want to just use straight members across here, if you wanted to, and eliminating any of the beam work that I'll talk about next, it would require these TJI 360s at 16 inches on center. And there are, of course, several solutions, but they choose the least expensive based on the wood volume here. So you can do 11 7/8 at 16 inches, and there's actually, you can do 14 inches at 24 inches spacing. And that's actually one of the most effective solutions, but it's this big 560. So a person would have to figure out if it's less expensive to just clear span everything with one of these solutions, or put in the beams that I'll cover next, which is the direction in which I went. Particularly because it didn't matter, this column here is not going to hurt anything down here. It's not going to get in anyone's road where it has to be here. So the whole floor platform then, the joists have to go this way, and the ones that have to go this way across a proposed beam here, those can all be 2x8s. That whole floor platform can just be fresh 2x8s. And those can be at 24 inches on center as well. Now if you want to use TJIs with the beam, then you could use 9.5s. So the next move then is adding to the length of it, and obviously we're going to go east with that. I went 2 feet to start, and then I trimmed that up, add another 3 inches. So I'm going to go 2 foot 3 inches to the east with that whole structure, like this. So we end up with 22 by 32 frame dimensions, out to out. And that is the Chevy Colorado, completely in front of the stairs, and this is the interior of the regular 2-inch garage door here. There's room for this Fleetwood to go up and back some. And this Colorado, we already knew this, that can go all the way under these stairs, all the way up against that pole if a person wanted it to. 2 feet between them. The beam that it's going to take to span this 20 feet is going to be two 18-inch LVLs. 16s could do it, but it takes 3 of them. So I chose 2 of these 18-inch LVLs to span that across here, and that required 2 18 inches LVLs across here as well. And so it starts shaping up. These here, this will be shown some point as 9.5-inch LVLs. This can actually be 2x12s, double 2x12s SYP number 1 down through here instead of the LVLs that I'll be showing here in a minute. That is the 18-inch beam going across here, and it sits on top of this column, suspended from this beam here with a hanger. And whatever this is, whether it's doubled 2x12s or doubled 9-inch LVLs, they sit on top of that 18-inch beam as well. And so this, everything comes down through here, and this is about a 3-foot footing, 3 foot by 3 foot by 12-inch footing down here with steel in it. So yeah, this was what I had. This was kind of where we were going. 2x8s across the whole structure here, 2x8s across the whole structure here. Both of those are 24 inches on center. So you probably want to put OSB plywood or something down before you. I would just put that down as my flooring instead of trying to do any kind of tongue and groove, and at least right now. The rest of the floor framing shapes up like this then, with these 2x8s framing out the stairwell and the clearance to go down the stairs there. And over these joists here, when they come over here, they can either sit on those 2x12s or LVLs, or they can, there's a wall on the second floor. They can have a nailer or ledger nailed against that and be suspended from that with hangers. So in a cut through here looking toward your house, that is beam A, the big 18-inch beam here. This is beam B, another two 18-inch LVLs here. This is either a couple 2x12s or a couple 9.5-inch LVLs. These are the 2x8s here, and these are these other 2x8s going across from wall to wall to individual trimmers coming down, or nailed to the side of those studs with trimmers coming down. That whole wall gets rebuilt, and that is probably going to be one piece from the bottom to the top plate of your other existing walls. That's the little hanger that goes here. Here are the dimensions put in. Now with the beam A, with the 18-inch beam, it's still 8'4" to the bottom of that from the proposed garage surface floor, and the ceiling on either side then at 9'10". On the second floor, everything has been left alone as it was, where you come up two risers to this. Now up across here though, this is what's changed, because we've changed that framing. We have to comply with code in terms of this roof structure. We can't just stiffen it up or whatever we were planning on doing. These collars that I'm showing through here, that's giving you 7 foot, which is kind of a minimum room height for that that raised art studio, that second part of the art studio, and 8'5" out here. For these to qualify to hold these rafters together and keep these walls from spreading out, those would actually have to come down where, probably they would have to come down where our clearance in here was 7 foot, and that would cut you down to about 5'4" or 5'8" in this attic. It would become an attic area there, no longer usable really, or listable as usable space in any event. So it could be that the engineer can analyze this and say that this is going to work with the right number of fasteners on the end of each of these collars. I'm almost sure that we're going to have a collar on each rafter, but he may be able to advise us, and maybe we can still go back to where perhaps every second rafter has a sandwich and a sandwich and sandwich, and this is kept a little bit more open through here because we do have those windows. Presumably those are going to be preserved or replaced at the gable ends of the structure. There's the 3-foot pad underneath that. This is, things are set. Now this, in this environment, I have put the 2x12s or LVLs down here and built a little short wall, and then just had these joists come across and sit on that wall. That's actually the builder's discretion practically. Alternately to those collar ties, perhaps the truss people can actually design a truss that works like this. So as I said, this column is so far out of the way in terms of vehicle here. I have actually shifted that just so the stairs lean right against it. That makes that nice and simple. All of the spans are still, it actually improves our garage door header condition. It moves it a little off center. But that's what I'm showing now. There's the truss up there. And I will say, because we raised the height of this roof 8 inches, if these windows are just going to be replaced, I don't know what your approach is. I'm showing the same windows just reinstalled higher. But there is a section of siding now out here because those coming higher than the roof. So if you're going to replace those can actually be larger windows in that same triangular shape. And I guess I should mention about this, this is that enclosure that houses the door at the top of the stairs, if that's when that's put in. And we were showing a platform over there. There's only about a foot between these here on the loft side. On the low side, there's going to be about 2.5 feet between the bottom of those and the top of this little platform. So really that means over all of it. It's just your access from the back side is only a foot. So I don't know if that maybe that back wall is run all the way up, but that's just something to think about. This last section is just whether or not you can get the cars into the garage now, according to popular opinion. And this is 44.5 foot outside turning circle for this Fleetwood, and that's diagrammed here with you coming in 10 foot off the curb and swinging in here, and you can see there's a lot of room yet for this to come forward. So I think it will work, but more skilled garage parking minds might differ on that. And you've got parking out there, of course, for days. Outside, not much changed. I mean, it just got 2 feet wider and 2 feet longer, and everything else stayed the same. You can see the little scrap of siding up here. If you wanted to put a newer window, taller, in there, you could. And I still recommend skylights on that north face, at least, for an art studio anyway. Particularly now that the roof is going to be replaced anyway. And hopefully we can call out those rafter spacings as 24 if you plan on skylights, and we could get some nice skylighting in there on this face here. I just have those 2 little windows left in there. I think there might be some on the back side. How many windows you put up in those little short walls is up to you, but any that you do have to be either art glass or tempered glass or protected with some sort of grid on the inside, heavy grid. And yeah, I thought we were going to have a problem with increasing its height at 8 inches, which is what it works out to, but apparently even the accessory buildings can be up to 40 feet high in that district. So we're good to go. It will only take maybe another, I don't know, another 4 to 5 hours to finish modifying the construction drawings to have them conform to what I'm saying. But if you want to just run this film by and the information by someone and see if this is still going to be doable, you can do that as well. So thanks, and let me know.